was writing. And I got the book myself, read it, and it was actually pretty life-changing for myself. Me and Richie started working together on some different ventures. And I'm going to let Richie explain a little bit more about all the different things he does, because he truly is a jack of all trades and a master of many. So Richie's a great person, a great friend, amazing entrepreneur. Let me welcome Richie Norton, everyone. We love each other. So, okay, let me pull this up.
Okay.
So Richie, very first off, why Moldova? I mean, you're
why not? Why not Moldova? Is the real question. I don't know, but this place is awesome. You know, I flew here from Hawaii, which means I flew over the Pacific Ocean, over the United States, over the Atlantic Ocean, into Germany, and then over here. It took me 2 days to get here, guys. 2 days. I was so excited. But Moldova, because of my friend Ross Tanner, who I've known for many years, who lives here and loves it, and said this is the best place on earth. And I said, I gotta see it.
Well, I love Moldova. This is my 3rd time here in 1 year. And something me and Richie have been talking about. This is his first day, and we're teaching him a little more. But Moldova truly is a place with, in my opinion, the most opportunity in all of Europe for starting up a business. And I think we want to get into some more things about why that is. So Richie, in your own explanation, what do you do?
I don't know what I do. I still don't know what I do. But I just do a lot of stupid things. So I wrote this book, The Power of Starting Something Stupid, and the whole idea comes down to basically one thing: stupid is the new smart. And you're going to understand what that means. Like if you ever have a breakthrough idea, if you ever want to do something new, something that's innovative, something that's never been done before, or something that's done a different way, it can't be smart, because all the smart people are already doing it. It's already been done. And so you have to break that mold, do something stupid. And it's not that it's inherently really actually stupid. It's just that no one's done it before. So creativity starts at stupid. So what I do, where do I start? The main things that I do, we can go backwards, but I'll jump forwards. I wrote a book about some of the many ventures I've done. My first startup was a cashmere business in Mongolia, believe it or not. And it was a social venture, social entrepreneurial, to help people, live where they want to live and where they're from, instead of feeling like they have to go to another country to be successful and be able to make money. And cashmere is a big deal in Mongolia, and so we did that. And from there, I got into doing startups all over the Asia-Pacific rim, Samoa, Papua New Guinea, Fiji, Philippines, and I got into a lot of microfinance, like small loans to micro entrepreneurs, and just led to writing books about, and then doing bigger ventures. And if you fast forward to today, wrote this book about it, how to take your stupid idea and turn it into your smart reality. And what really happened was I started interviewing people, kind of like what you're doing right now, and just asking them what made them successful or not successful. And so I learned lots of things, and as I interview people or consult people, they'll tell me things they want to do or things they need. And so instead of trying to create something new and push it down someone's throat, I try to hear what they already want and create that thing for them. I try to do that. And so my latest venture, aside from consulting and online business courses and my own little startups, is a company called Product, Products You're Proud Of. And we source products from China, mostly, and we can make anything you can ever imagine, because China can make anything you can imagine. And so we're doing bizarre things, like books, but teepees for little kids, mermaid tails. I don't know why you'd want a mermaid tail, but people do. And just random things. So at the end of the day, I start stupid things, and probably the theme of maybe this little conversation might be, there's not just one thing you're going to do in your life. It's a project. You don't have to think of one business as, this is the only thing I'm going to do for the rest of my life, and I'm going to change the world with one business. Projects. So you start a project, which can have a beginning and an end, and you do it. If it works, you move forward. If it doesn't, you move on or you pivot. And you can have multiple projects going on at the same time if you have team leaders that are helping you, or you move from one project to the next. I call it project stacking. So over the course of your lifetime, why couldn't you have 100 different projects or businesses in different industries? You can. So there you go.
Follow up to that, and you've answered part of it there, but yeah, why so many? You've answered in terms of like maybe variety, but personally for you, why do you do so many different things? Why not take one thing and become really, really good at that and focus on that the rest of your life? Personally, why do you choose to work on so many different projects?
It's too boring to do one thing. Way too boring. And I guess I'm just a crazy person who want to do lots of things. But you do want to have one thing be successful and have it kind of be your muse, and do the next thing and have it be your muse. So I just get a lot of ideas. And some people say just that what you said, I'm jack of all trades, master of many. Thank you. I don't know if I'm master of many, but I do know this. There's that old saying. I don't know if they use it here, but the saying is jack of all trades, master of none. Have you ever heard that before? That's not true anymore. That's last century. Nowadays, if you're a master of one, you're a master of none, because the world changes so often that tomorrow you can become irrelevant. So it's actually better to be a jack of all trades or a master of many trades than just mastering one, because you will become irrelevant tomorrow if the world changes. And it does, it will change. So, yeah.
Okay, so stepping back a little bit, that's some of the stuff you're doing now. I know there's a lot, and personally, I know what a lot of those are. You know, Richie mentions like a few little startups. You know, there's probably 10 or 15 different startup companies that Richie is actively engaged in. So that takes a certain type of person. Not everyone can have that energy or that focus. What's the earliest memory that you have of wanting to work on things on your own or being an entrepreneur?
Okay. Well, in the United States, a big deal is lemonade stands. Have you guys heard of like your little kid, you sell lemonade on the side of the road? Well, I remember one time I was 16. Yep, 16. And I wanted to get a summer job between school. And I told my dad I wanted to get a job. And my dad's an entrepreneur. So I learned a lot of things from my family too. And he said, "Why do you want to get a job?" And I said, "Because I want to make money." You know, like that's obvious. He's like, no. And I know this is weird, but he said, and this is weird in America too. He said, "You don't want a job. Your job's to be good in school, and you're gonna have to be working your whole life, so just have fun." But Dad, I want to buy things. I need money. He said, "Okay, do this." And this is kind of where it all started. This is where everything changed in my mind. He said, I lived kind of near a farming town in Southern California. He said, "Go over to this watermelon farm." Have I told you this story before? And instead of going and getting a job where you're working for minimum wage and just, you know, you can't work that many hours because you're just a teenager and you're working the whole summer and at the end you make hardly anything. He said, "Go to this watermelon farm. Ask if you can buy the irregular sized watermelons," meaning the watermelons that are a weird size that they can't sell to the grocery stores. So they can't sell them at all. They're gonna go rotten or whatever. And they're cheap. So with the little money I had, I bought a bunch of watermelons. I took our family van, took all the seats out of it, and filled this thing up with watermelons. Like it was like this low to the ground, like just packed with watermelons. And so the 4th of July, which is like a big, you know, Independence Day celebration, everybody eats watermelons in the States. So I was like, all right. And I just sat on the side of the road on the 4th of July and sold watermelons. And I made more money in one day selling stupid watermelons than I would have made the entire summer working minimum wage. And that's when I got it. I realized I didn't have to trade my time for money, that if I did a project and sold something that had value, I can make more money in less time than being, you know, enslaved to the clock. That's probably my earliest memory of what it meant to be an entrepreneur and the lifestyle you could have. So let me add, so even though I might be doing a lot of things, and I do work really, really hard, I select what activities I want to work on best, and then I find freelancers to help me do the things that I'm not that good at, or that I'd rather not do. And it works.
Awesome. And I think that's a really good point. in lots of things in business, there's people in every single area that have something that they're really, really good at. I have things I'm really good at and things I'm really bad at, and finding those people to help complement.
Yeah.
That's definitely something you've done really well. Talk a little more about that. Now, kind of bridging that gap. Okay, that's your first time as a kid realizing and having kind of that perspective change. I know you personally, so it's a little unfair, I think, because as you're saying things, I'm learning in a different way. But maybe share with us, what were some of those struggles or challenges or anything that really, that's one thing to know you're your own boss. Then you're married and you're starting to have a family and everything else. How has that perspective changed over time, and what experiences have led to like where you are right now?
I lived in Brazil for a couple years, and when I was a service missionary, and while I was there, I saw a lot of people in poverty, and I thought, how can I help people, live the life they want? They're very talented, they just don't have the resources or the network. So I always had that in my mind. And then I moved to Hawaii, and I saw a similar thing, people from all over the world who just wanted to do something but didn't have the resource or the network. So I thought, so in the States, there's a thing called retirement, and most people plan on 65, that they're going to retire and they're going to have all the time in the world to do what they want to do. And I thought, I don't know, I was in my early 20s, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to wait 40, 45 years to do the things that I want to do. Like, that's ridiculous. And so I thought, how can I help people do the things that I think I could hope to help them do, and also make money at the same time? That's when I learned about social entrepreneurship, where you can help people and make money at the same time, rather than just doing a nonprofit where you become a handout, the same way that people you're trying to help are asking for handouts. It's not always that way, but a lot of times it is, right? Anyways, I got married, had kids. My brother-in-law lived on and off with us for about 5 years. So these are some of the stories of things that happened. And one night, my brother-in-law, he just didn't wake up. He passed away in his sleep at the age of 21. And when that happened, I realized that, life's short. And even though that's cliche, people just say that, like it's really true. You never know how much time you have. We don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. Like we always talk about the future. You can't do anything in the future. You can't do anything 5 seconds from now. You can only do it right now. And now 5 seconds comes, and now you can do it. But you don't know. You just don't know. So when he passed away, my whole world changed. That whole idea again of, I can't wait till I'm 65. I might not live that long. I don't want to live a life of regret. A few years later, we had our 4th son, and we named him Gavin, after my brother-in-law who had passed away. His name was Gavin. And this little baby brought like a ton of joy into our lives. And he got a cough. And it was no big deal. We took him to the hospital, and they said he'd be fine, but the cough kept coming and coming. And one night we took him to the hospital late at night, and they kept us there for quite some time. And we thought we'd be in and out of there like we had before. But after many tests, it turned out they caught a disease, something called pertussis, or whooping cough. And it was just too much on his little body. And it's your worst nightmare as a parent. I remember the night the nurse said, you need to stay here. We always stayed, but she was explaining that it was serious, he wasn't going to make it. And I remember they gave us a chance to, they took all the little wires out of his body, they took all the tubes out. I held him for a moment, I handed him to my wife. We sang him lullabies, and I put my hand on his heart and just waited for those last beats, and my baby boy's, he passed away. And I remember in that moment thinking, man, life sucks, this is hard. This is hard. And what you don't think about when someone passes away in the hospital, especially a baby, that you come in with this sweet child and you leave empty-handed, completely empty-handed. But the weight of the world never felt heavier, And again, I just realized life's short. Life's short. I can't wait. So to answer your question, some of the things that changed my mentality was what I now call Gavin's Law, because you're both named Gavin. And to me that means live to start, start to live. Because when you live to start those ideas, those so-called stupid ideas, which we can explain later, you really do start living. So many people are just kind of like walking around, I don't know why I'm here on earth, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know what the purpose is of anything, is there a purpose, does it matter? We all have ideas. No matter where you believe they come from, we all have ideas. And when we embrace them and do something about them, we are filled. And it's scary, but we're filled. And it might work, and it might not, but either way, you can look back and say, I did it, I tried, and I can live without regret. So the reason I started so many different projects is because they're important to me, and I don't want to live a life of regret. And so I find ways that I can do it and leverage my time and resources in a way that I can live, because my brother-in-law didn't get a chance to live very long, my son didn't get a chance to live very long, and if I have the blessing of being alive longer, I need to make every day count. So I try.
And I love that. When I first met Richie, I was also going through some really hard things in my life. And it was at the same time as running a business. I got a hold of Richie at first because I was looking for someone who understood things and had similar experience in terms of helping me get through business, but also through life. And I think that's something that we underestimate and we maybe don't talk about enough in entrepreneurship, is how business affects personal life. It's one thing to go out and make a lot of money, and it's another thing to go out and have a very fulfilling life. So in regards to that, with all these different things that you're doing, and you foresee yourself doing so many more, even hundreds of more projects and project stacking, what are the things that you look for, or what are the things that determine what ventures or projects that you will work on, because time is valuable?
Yeah. Can I tell you a little story about that? So, who's ever heard of Amazon or used Amazon?
Over here, it's a little different.
Isn't it?
Amazon's not you can't get Amazon here, right?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. What's the equivalent? What's the other one called? eBay? But they know what it is. They know what Amazon is.
You can order anything from there. They ship here.
They do? Okay, good.
Yeah.
So, well, in regards to eBay, when Pierre Omidyar started that, his engineers told him it was a stupid, they literally used the word stupid, said it's a stupid idea. But then he explained and they came on board. Amazon, Jeff Bezos, he was a young guy when he had this idea to sell books online. And it turned out to be a lot more than that now, right? But he was working on Wall Street, and he had this idea, and he told his boss at the time his idea, and he and his boss walked around Central Park for 3 hours. And Jeff told his boss what he wanted to do, and his boss said this: that's a good idea, but not for somebody that already has a job, okay? And so it's like, okay. And Jeff Bezos asked himself this question, and you can Google it or read it anywhere, but this is the question he asked himself. He said, will I regret it when I'm 80? Would he regret when he's 80, sitting on a rocking chair, looking over whatever he wants to look over, and think, oh, dang, I should have started that book online business? Can you imagine if he didn't do that? And how different the world would be? He never would have even known what he missed out on. Because of that one question, will I regret it when I'm 80? And I'm sure many other factors, and he's very analytical. He knew the market of the internet was going to be big. He quit his job in the middle of the year. I'm not saying you need to quit your job, so don't get that from this. But he did, and drove from New York to Washington to start Amazon from his garage because he didn't want to regret it. And then now it's a $1 billion company. He graces the cover of, Time magazine and whatever, and the rest is history. So for me, one of the ways I measure what I want to do is two things. Would I regret not doing it? But then I have a lot of ideas, so I have to prioritize. So the next question is, what's the purpose of this venture? And what's the timing of the purpose of this venture? So if I need to make money tomorrow or next week, I'm going to do a project that's going to pay the bills tomorrow or next week. I have to. If I already have my bills paid or have something going and I can do something more long term, then that project is more of a dream, which means I have to set, dreams don't happen until they're due. So you do have to put timelines or dreamlines or deadlines on your projects, but then it gives me a little more flexibility to do it later. So you do the most urgent and important projects first, and then you do the important but not urgent projects second. The problem we have is that we're always choosing to do things that are urgent, but not necessarily important. And that's how we waste our time, on things that aren't important. So if you can just say no to things that aren't important, you'll free up more time than you could ever imagine to be able to work on the things that are important. Your dreams live in that space of not urgent, but they're important. And that's why they never happen. Because you fill your life with the things that are urgent and important, or urgent and not important. I learned that from a mentor of mine, Stephen Covey, who wrote 7 Habits. I don't know if you've heard it before. That's kind of his philosophy there.
So I think a lot of times as entrepreneurs, and I'm in the same boat, you know, I've had jobs growing up, but most of those were kind of in high school. I know I look really young. I'm 27, still young.
I thought you were 12.
But yeah, since I
with a beard.
Since I was
It's okay.
18 years old, I haven't really had like a job.
Yes.
We don't talk about this sometimes, but what about within companies, those stupid ideas,
Okay.
or those innovations, and it doesn't always have to be a separate or a new thing.
Okay.
People that are working within existing frameworks, how can they innovate or
That's a
do
really
those
good
stupid
question.
ideas there?
That's a really good question. So if you work, how many of you have, how many of you are employed in a job where you get paid every week or 2 weeks or a month or whatever? Okay, most of you. The other ones are entrepreneurs. Right? If you're not employed, you're an entrepreneur. So, like me. Okay, so it's different with every company, but if you want to be innovative inside of a business, it's called intrapreneurship rather than entrepreneurship. And it's hard sometimes inside of a company if you don't have permission, right? Because they're like, what are you doing? Are you wasting time? Right? And they might get weirded out. But if you can ask for permission if you need it, or if you can just be proactive and do things, if you have that flexibility to be creative, and if your boss is awesome, they should allow you to be creative, but allow it to be creative within the bounds of helping the company make money, right? Or whatever they want, as long as they're okay with it. You know, you don't want to get fired for being creative, but as long as they're okay with it, you can figure it out. Side note, if they won't allow you to be creative and figure it out, again, if you're allowed to do it on the side as sort of a side business, a side hustle, that's where you would do it. But inside the business, as long as it's okay, what you need to do is come up with these so-called stupid ideas. Something that's not happening already, that something needs to be changed. Something you see that needs to be done is not being done. How do you do it? And without getting all crazy detailed, if you do need support, you find someone at, because sometimes you're here, and there's a middle manager and there's a boss. And the middle manager, unfortunately, doesn't want anything to change because that makes their life harder. They get in trouble, they get asked questions they don't know how to answer. And their job is to control things, to manage things, to have everything be predictable. So you rock their world. So the goal then is to find a sponsor at the top who can say, I like your project, so the middle manager likes it too. And then you're able to do it. It's called a sponsor. So you get someone at the top if possible, or maybe your middle manager can be your sponsor and bring it up to the top. But either way, if you can be let loose to create something that adds value to the company, why would they ever let you go? So most people, when they work in a business, they don't, unless they're in sales, they don't think of themselves as creating profit for the company. They don't think of themselves as adding money to the bottom line. And that's wrong. Because the first people that get cut are the ones that the boss doesn't think is adding to the bottom line. Even if you're a janitor, you need to see how you're making or saving this company money and let people know.
I know some of I also ran a company for a long time, and some of the most innovative ideas And verticals that we ended up going after were suggestions from an employee that would say, hey, you know, I'm working on this on the day-to-day and I see this opportunity. And it was something extremely valuable. And those were the employees that we wanted with us every single day and for the rest of our life, as long as we could have them with us in our team.
So if you are a middle manager or you're the CEO or the owner or top guy there, encourage your employees to come up with innovative ideas. There's no such thing as a stupid idea, meaning they're all stupid ideas, but it's not bad to come up with them. And they can do it, or they can have a little box where they just drop it in, you know, anonymously if you want, whatever you want. But the people on the front lines, they're your smartest people, because they're the only ones that actually know what the heck is happening. No one else really knows. They're the ones you have to take care of, the frontline people.
In regards to education, okay, so shifting a little bit, you know, during your intro it was mentioned you have an MBA. You know, you also now are a faculty member at a university and helping teach entrepreneurship and things. In a world where the opinion of whether university is valuable or whether university is useless, you know, what's your view and what would you encourage people in regards to seeking education? How do you seek education?
So university is 100% valuable. This depends on what your goal is with university. So if we're talking more about continuing education and learning, absolutely valuable. So I chose to get an MBA not because I thought it would make me more money, but because I for the love of learning, for the love of building character, and the love of networking. If you were looking to climb a corporate ladder, they might require you to have a certain level of education. So if that's your goal, okay. But with the advent of YouTube, and I think 2005 is when it was founded, so we're just over 10 years here, you can learn anything with a Google search, you know, a YouTube search. And you can make money doing anything. And you've probably seen those statistics or videos of all these millionaires and billionaires that dropped out of high school or college or whatever. At the end of the day, you need education to get somewhere else, whether it's through a university or on your own. Depends on your goals. If you want to have that diploma as a goal, that's cool, but just don't trick yourself into thinking that that means you're going to make more money. I mean, there are people in this room who do not have degrees that are making more money than people that have the doctorate. Right? So, yeah.
Okay, I want to go into a couple of things. So, and for everyone's heads up, we are going to open up for some questions towards the end. So, be thinking about those if you haven't already. We will take the time to go through some of those. I only have a few more questions I want to go through with you, Richie. Here's one. There's a lot of people in a lot of industries. And you talk about Google or Amazon or whatever else, there's competition in every category, no matter what that is. How do you set yourself apart from others in your industry? What suggestions do you have for?
Okay, that's a good question. I get this question a lot. Like, what if there's so much competition? Ideally, you want to go somewhere where there's less competition. And then some people like the idea of competition because that means there's money there, right? But if you were to choose, you want to find somewhere where there's money and the least amount of competition. Because if there's a lot, you might get swallowed up. If there's a little, maybe you can compete. But at the end of the day, that's also high level, it's also philosophical, that it doesn't make any, it might make sense here, but it doesn't make sense here, in the hands. All you have to do in any industry, anywhere, anything, is sell one. Sell one. If you can sell one, why can't you sell 10? If you can sell 10, why can't you sell 100? If you can sell 100, why can't you sell 1,000? If you can sell 1,000, why can't you sell 1,000,000? You get the idea? It starts with one. So sometimes we think so big, which is good, that we do nothing. How am I going to compete with Google and Amazon? You're not. Don't even try. Maybe later. For now, sell your neighbor next door. Or sell that guy that you've made friends with on Facebook, you know, who lives in Ireland, whatever. You start with one, and then you move forward. Is there somebody here that has a friend in Ireland?
Well, Mark is Irish, and so is Ross, you know. So, anyways. But don't worry, we make fun of the Irish all the time. Okay, here's a little bit of a pessimistic question. What are the advantages of starting a business in the US? over somewhere else?
I don't know. In the US, if you're from America, you speak English fluently, you know, and you have these networks and there's an abundance and there's all kinds of stuff. So that's good. However, because of the internet, the world isn't round anymore. It's back to Christopher Columbus, you know, is round, is it flat? The world's flat now. I mean, literally it's round, I get it. The world's flat. If you're selling something to me on the internet, I don't know where you're from, nor do I care. If you deliver the value that I want, you can live anywhere and sell anything. Yeah?
Agreed. And the reason I ask that is a lot of people that I've met in Moldova, I'll come over here and I'll speak and I'll say, I think Moldova's amazing, I think there's so much opportunity, and they'll say, yeah, well, you live in America. And I say, yes, I do. And the thing is, we've seen that.
You know what?
We know it, we live it.
So in America, people will say, well, I'm not from New York.
Yep.
I'm from a small town.
From Utah.
In Mississippi. I'm from Southern California, but he's from Utah. You've probably never heard of that place. And so I live in Hawaii, and a lot of the people in Hawaii, many of them have never even been on an airplane before. They haven't gone from one island to the other. They haven't been to the mainland USA. And so they think that way too a lot of times, like, oh, I'm just from this little town, I can't do anything. And however, if you look at what's happening in Israel, very small country,
Yep.
they have more companies on I think the NASDAQ in America, like than per capita, per country, whatever, than most, like,
Top
they
three in
don't,
the world.
what I'm trying to say is they don't think, I'm from Moldova, I'm gonna sell in Moldova. I'm from Hawaii, I'm gonna sell in Hawaii. They think, I'm gonna sell to those Americans. And they do, in droves. So you know how they say think outside the box? There's no box anymore. You don't have to think outside of it, it doesn't exist. There's no box, just sell.
The reason I say Utah as well, you know, we both have family in Utah and have done business stuff in Utah. 4 years ago, same thing in America, people would say, why are you starting a business in Utah? Why not Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, Miami? And I would say, I think Utah is the best place to do business in the nation. And just last month, Forbes magazine said Utah is the #1 state in all of America to start a business. I feel the same way about Moldova. Someone may say, why not Paris? Why not London? Why not Berlin? Chisinau could be that #1 place within just a few years. So in terms of opportunity, here's a question for you. If you had $500 to start a business in Moldova, what would you do?
I don't know. I'd probably ask you guys. But I'll think about that, let me think. But there's that saying, the grass is greener on the other side.
Yeah.
You heard that? Okay. That's not true. I mean, the real saying I heard someone say recently is, the grass is greener where you water it. Just water it. If you move from here to LA, I don't think it would help you. You'd probably just get lost. Not because you're from Moldova. Anyone who would move to LA from wherever they're from in the world would get lost. It's the same as here, just different. Does that make sense? They're just people. And because of the internet, you can connect with anyone, anywhere. Travel, do things, live wherever you want. But don't think, because I'm not there or I don't have these things, I can't do it. That's not a true statement. Anyone who's done anything great did it with a lack of resources, and they figured it out. They leveraged what they have. So if I have $500, and assuming I already had a computer and internet access, I'd make a survey. I would pick a niche that I was interested in, and I would do a survey. And I would do that survey for people that had money, whether they're local or not, and they would tell me what they want to buy. Then I would say, okay, I will sell that thing to you, will you buy it now? sales. And if they would pre-purchase it, then I would make it or buy it and deliver it to them. And I would do that over and over and over again. That's what I would do.
Cool. What, final question. What suggestions would you have for people in terms of doing more business internationally? I think that's something that we just talked about with internet, but more in terms of strategy or communication or language or understanding people. What would you suggest for people to do business around the world?
Okay. So when we say I have an MBA, I went to a school called Thunderbird. It's the #1 international business school in the world. So everything we learned was international, international, international. But what I learned the most was, have you ever heard the term, you've heard the term global? Have you heard the term global? It's global, you think globally, but you act locally. If a Japanese brand came here and tried to sell you something in Japanese, would you buy it? No. So if you're trying to sell something from Moldova to someone in another country, you have to sell it as if you were them, which is easier to do by finding a freelancer who lives there to help you do it. I say freelancer because you don't need to necessarily employ people long term, you do it by the project. They call them flash teams. The way a movie or a YouTube video comes together, you bring a team together, they do it and they're gone. So, if you want to go global, you need to act local in the country that you do it in. So, when I work with people in China, I have people that speak Chinese. And they figure it out. I'm not selling to the Chinese, I'm buying things from them and then bringing them over and selling it wherever. So, the other question is, why do you want to go global? And the answer is just because, expand the market or find money somewhere else or whatever. So if you identify, again, if you think about it not in terms of like all this crazy big philosophical stuff, you think about it as that one guy or gal in that country who has enough money to buy this thing because it adds value to their life in some way, shape, or form. And you target that person, wherever they may be from, and you speak their language, not necessarily English or another language, but the language of what gets them to buy, they will buy. And you do it over and over and over again. English is extremely important, but it's becoming less and less so. The new international language is social media. If you post something in your language, and I see it, I can click see translation, and I can see what you said. I have an app where I can speak in English and press another language, and it will speak it to the person for me. It's like another world. It is another world. So don't let language or resources, stop you. The only thing that stops you is your limited ideas and your unwillingness to try them out. If you have the courage to try them out, you'll succeed. They say that 90% of businesses fail. So 9 out of 10. As an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur, that means start 10. Because one of them will work, right? That's what you gotta do. So just go for it. Go for it.
Okay, last question. And this is for me personally, more than anything. You have a lot of energy. You work on a lot of projects. Maybe it's not for everyone, but what habits are most important to you? What do you do every day to be happy, and what do you do to stay focused, etc.? What are your habits? Daily habits.
So I'm probably not as good as most people at having a really good structure, which is because I'm aware of that. I almost hate structure, but I know structure and systems help me, but I don't like to be pinned down or controlled. I just want to go with the wind. Whatever the wind tells me to do, that's what I'm going to do. So knowing that, I batch my work. So let's say you have an 8-hour workday. That means that you're going to stretch out whatever work you have to get done within 8 hours. However, it's actually called Parkinson's Law, that the amount of time your work expands to the amount of time given. So if I gave you the same, or I gave myself that same task that took me 8 hours, if I said I only have 2 hours to get it done, guess how long it would have taken me to get done? 2 hours. those papers you wrote in school that you didn't do till, you know, several seconds before you had to turn it in, same idea, same idea. So I batch my work. So I didn't get my book done until my publisher said there's a deadline, and then I would stay up all night long and get it done. So what I do is I have a dream project, I set a dream timeline, and I try to get it done within that time frame. They're all self-imposed. But then because I know I won't be good to myself and keep my own word to myself, because there's so many more fun things like waves in Hawaii to go play in, I will tell somebody, either on social media or a real person, like my wife or a friend or an accountability partner or business partner, which means now I'm accountable to them to get it done, which forces my integrity to get it done. It's called the Pareto principle, which means if you focus, 80% of your results come from 20% of your time. 80% of your results come from 20% of your activities. 80% of your profits come from 20% of your products or services. So I focus on that 20% and say, screw the other 80, or if the 80 are important, let's have someone else take care of that for me. And that's how I find enough time to get it done within a timeline, and then enjoy the time to be able to travel and do things.
Awesome. Okay guys, let's give Richie a round of applause real quick.
Thank you.
I want to open up some questions, so we'll have time for a few, and we'll pass it around. So,
Someone asked a question. This is Cameron's wife right here, by the way.
this is Shara. Shara, stand up, wave. Hi! Okay, if you have a question, raise your hand. Shara will bring you a mic and go from there.
Hey.
Hey.
I was just wondering, because you lived in many countries,
Yes.
how did it influence the type of ideas, or how did it influence, like going back to Utah or
Yes.
LA or whatever?
Every time I see something new, it changes my mind, right? And so I see something, I go, oh, that's the way it is here. It totally changes everything you think. It can rock your world. So when I went to Brazil and I saw, whoa, these people don't have the same access to resources that I have, I thought, how can I help them, right? So yes, travel is huge. It helps me a lot. However, if you don't have the ability or time to travel and see new things, you can see them on TV and on the internet. You know what I mean? It's like not exactly the same, but as we're exposed to new things, it totally changes the way we think. But yeah, does that help? Yeah, okay, cool.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Let us know about your biggest failure project, why it happened, what you've lost, and what you've learned.
What a horrible question. Okay, so about this time last year, I started a project purely to make money. Like, it had nothing to do with something I was interested in, had nothing to do with being passionate about it. I raised $100,000. 2 months into it, I hated my life. I wanted to throw up every day. I physically felt ill. I did everything I could and I paid that money back as fast as possible, and I decided I was never going to do something terrible like that again. Now when I say that, money's important and you have to make money. In a lot of ways, money is like water. If you don't have it, you don't have food or water or shelter, right? It's a part of the world that we live in. It's just the way it is. But I realized that given a choice, which I am and I know not everyone is, if I have to choose meaning or money, or meaning, I'm not going to choose either. I'm going to choose both. What's meaningful but can also be sustainable. Because if I choose meaning and it can't be sustainable, I will also be miserable. Right? Money doesn't make you happy, but neither does poverty. Right? So money is not the factor that makes you happy or not. It's what happens up here that makes you happy or not. But being able to have a sustainable project that I'm interested in, that was a lesson I learned. And you don't have to pick a project you're necessarily passionate about. That's kind of selfish. I'm only doing things that I'm passionate about. But I'm passionate about helping others. And so if I can find a way to make money and help others at the same time, it doesn't really matter what it is. But this one, it wasn't about that. And I hated every second of it. I seriously I would rather just, it was horrible. Worst decision ever. But also it was very good to learn from it and look back and go, never again. Yeah, you're welcome. Someone asked me a question about Moldova. I mean, I don't know anything about it. I want you to tell me what you're doing here and what's something you can do to help.
Hi, my name is Gena. I have a question. From your experience, when you try something, any idea, yeah, and how long it takes time to understand you that this idea is good or it was wrong, and how you understand this? Thank you.
That's an excellent question. The answer is, I don't know.
That's an excellent answer.
But there are ways to find out. There's a book called The Dip by a guy named Seth Godin. And he says ideas that are a cul-de-sac. A cul-de-sac is like a dead end. How do you know if it's a dead end? Which I'll talk about. But sometimes it's like this. You have an idea, and then you start to get in it, and you go into the trenches, and it's hard. And you're down here at the bottom. And if you keep going through that dip, you'll actually come back up and out. So what you're asking is, when you're down here, how do you know if you should quit? Like if it's a dead end, you can't go up, or how do you go back up? Okay. Here's my best answer. If you want it to work, then you have to keep trying different ways to make it work. Because what you're doing may be right, but the way you're doing it may be wrong. If at the end of it you hate the idea and you hate yourself, it's definitely a dead end. Okay? But sometimes when you're in that moment, should I quit or should I move forward? There's this little quote right here: startups don't fail, founders quit. It's very interesting. You can quit strategically, meaning you're not giving up. It's called in the startup world, it's called a pivot. Pivot means, like if you're playing basketball or something, you just kind of move your feet to the side. Okay, you just kind of turn. So you have this idea and you're like, it's not working. I might need to turn it a little bit. So the other part is, are you running out of money? Like, do you need more money? What are your goals? How much time do you have? How much time are you willing to put into it? But at the end of it, if you want it so bad, you will try every way to make it work. But at the end of the day, if it still doesn't work, the market is giving you feedback that either the idea isn't good or the way you're doing it isn't good. And then you change based on their needs and wants. And something that you create might turn out to be very different than you thought it would be, but it could potentially be better. So as you move forward, if you quit, don't just quit like I give up, I suck, I hate myself. It's, I'm going to stop doing this so that I can now do this, which isn't quitting. It's a strategic pivot, like chess. Yeah, go. Yes.
Okay. So how can we stay motivated or stay self-motivated? And because many times we feel like to give up, how can we stay motivated?
That's a great question.
Thanks.
It's very hard and it hurts to start something new. But even just staying in whatever job you have right now is hard and it hurts, right? It's all hard. But how do you stay motivated? You have to think about why you're doing it. So I live on the North Shore of Oahu, where the biggest waves in the world are. And I have a buddy who rides these massive waves, and he got caught up on this like 20, 25, 30-foot wave, fell down, and a surfboard came and smashed him in the leg and broke his femur. And he thought he was going to die, because he almost did die. Drowned, because the waves kept hitting him on top of the head. Another surfer came, grabbed him, brought him to shore, and he went to the hospital. They put a pole in his leg. Bad. Not too much longer, like a few weeks later, he was back out surfing again. I said, dude, are you crazy? Like, do you want to die? Like, what's your problem? And he's like, no, I just love it so much. And I realized that his love for surfing was more important to him than the chance of getting hurt. But I also realized he didn't just go out there and surf big waves and fall down. He started out learning how to swim, learning how to ride small waves, and incrementally, he would learn and fall down, get back up, learn and fall down, back up. So when he fell from something so big, it was just a matter of getting back up again, like he had so many times before. That's why it's so good to start small and get back up, small, fall down, get back up. So when you get to that big part, when you fall, you can get back up. So the answer to your question is, how do you stay motivated? You keep your eye focused on that why. I'm doing this because I love my family. I'm doing this because I want to do something different. I'm doing this because I'm trying to help people. I'm doing this because... And so when all these hard things happen, which will be hard and will happen, you'll move through it because there's a reason you're doing it. And you assign meaning to that thing, and you'll be okay. Yes?
2 more questions. We'll go right here.
Hi, I'm Christina.
Hi.
So a good leader knows how to pick the right people for his
Yes.
team. So what is your advice or experience regarding that?
Okay, excellent question. How do you pick people to work with? I'm going to give you a good rule of thumb. I would rather work with somebody who's motivated and less experienced than someone who's an expert and not motivated. If someone is really good at what they do, and I have to motivate them to do it, it's a waste of my time and theirs. I'd rather work with someone who is not as good, but wants to get it done and is going to do everything they can. Because a lot of times leadership is all about, how do I motivate people? How do I motivate people? Don't. Hire motivated people, and your life will be much better. Right? Oh man. Yes, yes.
Hi, my name is Anna, and I'm a psychologist, and I also work on a startup idea. And as you mentioned, there are moments when it's getting really tough, and I was curious, how do you cope with it, and if you had experience to seek a professional aid?
When you're having tough experiences.
Yeah. So yes. So you're a psychologist. And so people do come to you all the time with their problems, yes?
Yes, they do. But still, there is stigma that going to
There's a stigma, yes.
So I was curious if you have any experience and if you would recommend, if it differs from the advice you receive from your friends or mentors.
Okay, good question. Thank you. So when I'm going through hard times, unfortunately, I have a great wife who supports me, and we can talk through it. I try to spend some time thinking through it, meditating. I'm a prayerful person, I'll pray, I try to get out in nature. Nature helps me a lot. But I have sought professional help before, especially when my son passed away and different things like that. There shouldn't be any stigma seeking out a professional. There shouldn't be any stigma for taking medicine. Guys, your brain is like a real thing. If you have a broken bone, you're going to put a cast on it. There's something wrong with your brain. You're going to take medicine, or you're going to talk to somebody to help you. There is a stigma, there shouldn't be. And yes, I would recommend people talk to a professional, just the same way they would ask their coach, in sports to help them. Yeah?
Okay, last thing I want to do because of time is I want to turn over to Richie and just any last things that you thought of or that you would like to share that maybe we didn't cover.
Okay. Sometimes we just don't believe in ourselves. And And that's the only thing that matters. And we're always looking for permission. Someone needs to tell us that we can. That's not the world we live in anymore. No one needs to tell you what to do. You already have permission. I'm not granting it to you. It's innate. Meaning you have it already. It's inside of you. Just do it. You choose yourself. It used to be someone had to choose you to be on TV. Now you can make a YouTube channel. It used to be that someone had to choose you to write an article. Now you have a blog. It used to be that someone had to choose you to speak on the radio. Now you have a podcast. It used to be that someone had to choose you to be able to spread a message and say things and build community. Now you have social media. You have no excuses, which is horrifying and wonderful at the same time. You are chosen. You've already been chosen. Now you have to choose yourself, and that will make all the difference. So, yes.
So I have one more question.
Yes.
Do you have any experience in startup with your friends? And is it good experience? And what is your opinion about this?
Most of my startups have been with friends, or they become friends in the process. And that's a really good question, because at the start of it, I always say to them, I know this could ruin our relationship. And I say, our friendship is more important than the money. And then I say, we need to have open communication. So if you think something weird about me, or I think something weird about you, we are going to say right now, we're not going to be offended if somebody brings it up. It's to keep us honest and to keep our friendship clean. And I've had really hard conversations with really good best friends. But fortunately, they haven't ended in disaster. Because at the very beginning we set a clear expectation, it helped. It helped. It's not perfect, but it helped. But if you go in it naive, thinking we're going to be best friends forever, even when it gets hard, it's going to be hard. But at the end of the day, you're not going to ever do business with people you don't like. Why would you do business with somebody you hate? So you're going to end up becoming friends with the people you work with, and you want that, because business is about relationships more than it is about anything else. Good question. Thanks, guys. I'll stay around and say hi. So, thanks.
So let's give a big round of applause to these two guys. Big. We should ask one startup. We have a traditional startup grant. We usually share what we are doing and what value we can bring to our guys, or what value we can bring to our entrepreneurs. So, and Richie asked about the guys in Moldova, what we are doing. So let's bring some guys that want to share what we are doing, and then we have tasty pizza. A few minutes. Someone? Go.
Good job.
So what do you want me to tell you about?
What do you want to tell to guys? To Richie or to our guys?
Yeah, I can actually tell you guys about that. Maybe some of you know it, at least I think it would be more relevant for you to listen this story. So it was that project YAM that, in Startup Week in 2014, and everyone then said that, hey, your startup failed. Yes, we know. So it was a normal story that usually, most of the time it happens, as 90%.
I think that we're starting now with some kind of a new pitch of startup grant, so let's be short.
Sure.
Yeah, what I do, so I'm Ivan, I'm doing telecommunication and software stuff. We are looking for developers in JavaScript now. Okay, this is me at this moment.
So you want me to tell about me? Okay, so basically we are just a team of about 8 people, and we are building a project for, currently we're building a restaurant's brand management system in order to be able to market your products on mobile platforms, and you have like some kind of delivery and table bookings and so on features for different restaurants. That's short.
Hello, I'm Valentin. What we are doing, we are narrating articles, so if you have some articles bookmarked in your browser or maybe saved to later list. So just ask me and we will narrate them for you.
Thank you. Someone else?
Hi, my name is Julian. I'm a freelance developer, web developer, and at the same time, I'm passionate in implementing, well, cutting edge technology like data science, machine learning, and natural language processing in small projects. So if you're interested about this, we can talk.
Sounds awesome. Richie, just put an eye on you. Someone else? We going to pizza? So I think, like Richie said, if I will think at 80 years old, if this day was some kind of value for me, I think I will never regret that I joined this event. Thank you. Guys, we want to do a party in December, so if you have any ideas of speakers or partners or a party venue, so please share it to us. We want to do it. Thank you.
Richie wants to get a selfie with everyone up here, so everyone stand up. Let's kind of